Da-da-da-da-da. All right, bet. All right, welcome back to Entirely Media. If you know me, then there's a few things that you know that I actually enjoy in life. Number one being free things, number two being coffee, and number three being a good morning show. As always, I'm here with a great group. We have Ashley Chevalier, Chris Lucci,
Yo, good morning. Buenos dias.
buenos dias, Aaron Miller, and Kyle Murph. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's get right into it. So, Steve Kerr recently had some comments that, from him being a legendary coach, does kind of shift the narrative a little bit for some people, or at least spark debates. He recently said that in terms of the game itself, you see in the record books, the scoring boards, scoreboards, and so many other things that LeBron's name is there, but it's actually Steph that has changed the game. Chris, I want to start with you. Being able to see so many eras and see how the game has transitioned over the years, what's your sentiments on how Steve Kerr feels about the way Bron's changed the game and the way Steph has changed it?
I mean, I think he's spot on. Steph has had an incredible impact. Ironically, I would give it to two guys. Always, you guys know, I always go to Magic and Bird and how they saved the NBA. The NBA was a dying league on tape delay, and they came in with their style and changed it. Steph has had that type of impact where everybody wants to shoot threes now, long ones. Emphasis on that. So he's definitely there, and LeBron is just literally, he's the greatest something. He's the greatest something, the greatest player to ever do all of this for so long at the highest level, all of that. So, I mean, I think he's spot on. I think it's probably a little bit of that protecting my guy and pushing for my guy as well sentiment, but his how he used it, how he verbalized it is I would say is accurate.
I like that. Aaron, thoughts?
I mean, I'm gonna say this: Steph changed how the game is played, but LeBron changed how the league is run. Right, from the decision in 2010 to the rise of short-term, high-leverage contracts, LeBron gave the players the blueprint on how to control their own destinies.
Facts.
The structural shift in the NBA's power balance is, arguably more game-changing than just any jump shot to me. Before LeBron, offenses weren't built around a single point forward. Outside of Magic, that was the OG of it. But like every single possession to control it, that includes scoring, rebounding, elite playmaking. Today's NBA is filled with, I don't want to say filled with, but we see more LeBron clones now. We see more teams trying to kind of emulate that, like Luka or Nikola Jokic, jumbo playmakers who dominate the ball. I mean, Steph changed the spacing, but LeBron changed the engine of the modern offense. He's fundamentally changed how athletes view their bodies and careers. The time and money he's invested in his body and the approach has influenced an entire generation to prioritize sports science and recovery. He's showing how these dudes can extend their primes of, veterans across the league. He proved that father time can be delayed, which is a massive shift in professional sports. I mean, I would say Steph's impact is aesthetic, right? But LeBron's impact is fundamental. Like LeBron's ability to force a 5-out defense just to stop him from getting to the rim is what allowed shooters to flourish
But is
in the
Steph
first
not
place.
is Steph not doing the same thing? I mean, having to pick up as soon as you pass half court, it shifts your whole defense. It shifts your whole plan.
True,
Is that
it
not
does.
fundamental to the game too?
I mean, yeah, it is fundamental, but that's what I'm saying. It's aesthetic. It's just his jump shot that is the reason why he's changed it. But only him. Like you're not going to see another Steph Curry like that. We're probably never going to see a guy where we have to guard him out at half court. What other guy do we guard all the way out in the half court?
Dame
What
and Trey.
guy do you pick up full court when he's not
Dame,
even
Trey.
when he's not even getting no Trey's not no.
Come on, Trey.
So
Trey.
you're
Trey's a
telling me,
Trey, Trey's, Trey's a step down.
you're
He's in
telling
that.
me
He's in that era.
defenses guard Trey Young the same way they guard Steph Curry.
I think it's a variation of it. Yeah.
No, it's not a variation of it because if you look, Steph is more dangerous off the ball than he is with the ball.
Okay, so I'm
Dame,
I'm
for
I'm,
sure.
I'm glad you say that too. So if you're gonna say Bron fundamentally shifted the game, right? then you have to look at too, like again, if we're talking about pull, that's a fundamental shift. His
You said
gravitational pull is
Poll.
crazy. Pull, yes, his gravitational pull is crazy.
I'm gonna say it again. Do you see more ball dominant players like LeBron in the league, or do you see more players like Steph in the league?
Again,
Well, I mean, and for that
Answer the
argument,
question. It's
how
the
I
simple
stand,
one. Do you see more ball dominant players like LeBron who impact the game from a scoring, rebounding, and playmaking aspect, or do you see more players like Steph in the league?
so the more
You're
players
still
like
not
Bron,
answering
but
the question.
more players like Bron, more players like Bron, more players like Bron. But the reason why, like, my thought process in that is like Steph changed fundamentally because like Steph has so much gravitational pull, like Darren was saying, that somewhat, without disrespecting, created Draymond to be that LeBron-esque player because Steph has so much pull. Like you have to guard him from the as soon as he crosses the court. So it's like you're told to put your feet on the 3 point line, like your feet at the top of the 3 point line, like at least to guard him from the 3 point line if you're a shooter. But Steph, you have to guard him at the logo. So it pulls everybody out. So like he fundamentally changed people's defense because it's now like it's acceptable to shoot from the volleyball line. You know what
Like
I'm
I
saying?
said,
So I go
these
ahead.
teams are these teams are trying to find more LeBron James than they are Steph Curry. Because we see every single team now has a ball dominant person, from your James Harden to your Luka Doncic to your SGAs to your Nikola Jokic's to your Cade Cunninghams. You see more ball dominant players like LeBron who impact the game in so many aspects, as opposed to Steph Curry who just impacts the game from a shooting aspect.
But the game is 3 point shooting now. That's why there is no such thing as a mid range anymore because Steph
and
has
that's
made
why
it so
teams
popular.
are and that's why teams are not as successful as they think they should be or could be, because they keep forgetting that you don't have Steph Curry. So this whole live by the
It,
three, die by the three
uh,
is fucking insane to me. All right.
I don't
The
agree with it.
reason why your shit don't look like the Warriors is because you don't have Steph Curry. You have a LeBron James type of dude on your team, so treat him like a LeBron James dude.
I don't think you have either. I don't think that's the problem. I don't
Exactly.
think anybody has a LeBron or a Steph except the Lakers with LeBron and Golden State with Steph. Hence the issue here. But continue with the debate. I just wanted to chime in on that one.
We got prototypes.
So Ashley, did LeBron change? So this is what I'm trying to get at. Did LeBron change how we play the game, or did we just change how, or did he just change at least how we perceive one player can play five positions?
No, I mean, he definitely changed the perception of what we think a professional basketball player can do in a lot of ways, whether it's longevity, maintenance of yourself, or just how he literally plays the game day in and day out. But I do think that Kerr's comments was probably more so to spark conversations like this, because I think when you look at LeBron and you have somebody like him in the league, still making an impact, still solidifying his legacy and everything, that Steph Curry's impact is going to be impacted a little bit, or like shadowed a little bit. So I think that's more so what it was about. I don't think you can really make a list and look at it and be like, oh yeah, this is the more impactful one. This is because the impact is going to come in different areas. Steph Curry's definitely had more of an impact on like what little kids look up and see and think is tangible to become. Because LeBron's not that. Like, you don't look at LeBron a lot of the time and be like, a lot of kids are going to look up and be like, yeah, I can be just like him. It's not as tangible because he's just like a freak of nature. When you look at Steph, like he's a tangible like role model at the end of the day. And I think that's where the biggest thing is that Steph probably impacted the more like moldable game. LeBron's talent, his ability, it's not moldable. That 90% of it is like freak of nature, and then he was just able to fine tune those skills.
Okay, okay, Chris, you had started on this a little bit. What
In
do you
what
think?
regard? About his fine. I mean, yeah. I mean, a little bit of semantics. Like the question that you're asking, essentially, I mean, I think Kerr is, I think how he described it is right. I think how Ashley is breaking it down is very accurate. It's when I worked at Adidas, right? We always talked about selling shoes, And so the players that we would go after and look to sign on the pro level would always be the athletic. It was like a 2-3. We always said 2-3s didn't sell shoes, but Shaq at basically at that point was the most dominant player in the game. But the Shaq shoes, aren't selling. Shaq ended up having to do his own brand. Obviously did some things with Reebok, and he's been great, in that space. But Shaq shoes don't sell. Why? Because just like Ashley saying, little kids don't grow up talking about, yo, give me the ball, I'm about to Shaq Diesel you. But they grew up like, yo, I'm on the wing, I'm Kobe, I'm T-Mac, I'm Vince Carter, I'm Allen Iverson, things of that nature. So exactly what she's saying. Kids can now, it's tangible. Kids can say, you know what, little Johnny, little Bobby, I'm shooting from half court. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Whether they call half court, shooting in the laundry basket or whatever in the house from this age all the way up, they could try to mimic that. So by all means, Steph made it realistic and made it tangible, as Ashley said, too, as a superstar that you potentially can be.
I agree. That was my sentiment exactly. Like you can see Steph's impact in every gym, right? And you're big on grassroots, and that's kind of where you're really seeing it the most. Kids want to be able to play like that, and I think Steph's design and the way he's been able to work to be the player he is now has been more radical. I mean, that's the blueprint for every average size player now. You can't really put a blueprint or put any type of play into how you want to shape a kid to be like LeBron, because that's damn near impossible to follow. But either way, great topic there. I love where we were able to go with that. I want to pivot a little bit since we're talking about
D,
players
let
that
me
have.
give you one more thing on that. Let me just before you move on,
Yeah.
just to kind of clear up a little bit when I mentioned Magic and Bird and how they saved the NBA. Let me just let our viewers know what it is that they did. No, seriously, like Magic and Bird made it cool to pass the ball.
Yes.
Right? The Magic Johnson Lakers were Showtime, and they were passing the ball. One of the things that Larry Bird used to do was no look passes behind his back and things of that nature. So it made it cool to pass the ball, and it became it kind of became a thing, growing up. You go to the park, you go to the gym, it's like, yo, I'm gonna set you up and give you the no look pass. And that became something very tangible, right? As opposed to, you know what, I'm not a great scorer, but I can drop it off to you right before you about to score and make that signature pass. So I just wanted to throw that in there on the history tip.
Well said. Well said. Thanks for clearing that up. I didn't want anybody to come after you.
Yeah.
We look at what's supposed to be the number one draft pick. Someone argue it's between him and homeboy from
Peterson.
where's he at? Kansas.
Yep.
Right,
Kansas,
Darren Peterson. Either way, this would be probably one move that we haven't seen in a very long time if he were to act on the comments that he made, saying, I might not leave college. My mom wants me to graduate, which we understand that sentiment of wanting to get an education. You have players that culturally that's their number one goal. Chris, I want to start with you on. Actually, no. Actually, I want to start with you on this. Would that be a legendary move for AJ, or would that be a mistake to take another year?
I mean, I think that decisions like that, you can't really decide if it's legendary or a mistake until a couple years down the line. But I will say that it would definitely be very impactful. I think, especially if it is a successful move for him, it would be huge for men's basketball, because I think that the idea of being a one and done is too ingrained in like the space of men's basketball, and I I think that it's very underrated. Like, okay, yes, we have the sentiment of getting your degree. That's a great thing. I think that a lot of more men should probably do that just for the sake of, you're essentially getting it, not essentially, you're getting it for free, and now with NIL you're getting paid to do it, and on top of that, like, you're able to continue to build your skill. But I think that there are so many talents that we have seen that have decided to go early, and then they just get lost in the sauce when it comes to being in the NBA. So I think that it would change a lot of what college basketball looks on the men's side. And I think that would be awesome. And just really change a lot of things, because you see with the new rule, like, a lot of people are trying to go back because they made a mistake, like, you're leaving too early, you're not really developed, and then you think that, okay, I'll have more value because I wasn't in college as long. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case. But I mean, it will depend for some people. I think that leaving one and done is maybe a good idea for you. And then, but it all depends on semantics.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Kyle?
Same thing. It's weird because everybody wants to be the next best thing, and then you have superstars who are not doing one and done. Like Curry, for example. Like he didn't do a one and done, but he built himself. He was able to develop himself and be able to get there. I think it's a great marketing thing for by AJ because like he's controlling the narrative. Like if I want to do this, like he's good enough to actually say that. Like if I want to stay, I can stay because if I want to make my mom happy and I want to do what's best for me, like after basketball, then okay. But if not, I'm good enough to go to the league right now, and he's not missing any money. Like he's not missing any money really. Like well he is, but he's not missing that much money at the age of 18 when it comes to like in comparison. Like he can make more money, but at the same time he's not like struggling for money with the money he's getting now at BYU. So I think it's cool. I think that like touching on what Ashley was saying, like I do think there needs to be a few more players that are not of his talent that need to stay in college a little bit longer, just to develop themselves and give themselves a better chance, higher draft pick or whatever it is. Like because he even said it, like, do I think I'll be number one? Yes. Do I want to be number one? Yes. But
Yeah.
I'm going to stay. I might stay just to make my parents happy. A lot of it was culturally, but at the same time, just overall, I think it's a good thing to just keep in mind for your career.
Question on TikTok says, what if he goes back, doesn't go in the NBA, and blows out his knee? Then what?
It's a risk you got to take. Injury is basketball. It's part of basketball. 'Cause you can
Yeah,
go to a league
I
and get his first game and blow his knee out.
Yeah.
Happened to Gordon Hayward as soon as he went to the Celtics.
I agree with Aaron. I mean, sorry, I agree with Kyle on that one. Like, sorry, that's a risk that you take regardless. And while it definitely is like not necessarily the same amount of money that you're gonna get with the
Yeah.
NBA contract, like you're not struggling. You're still able to build that nest egg, and you're still able to build a great life off of that if that's something that happens. But at the same time like I don't see that as being a reason why you shouldn't get your degree and shouldn't, prepare yourself to come in and dominate as a rookie more than you would as like well how old is he as a young buck?
Yeah.
A couple more years definitely puts a lot of things in a different place for you as a rookie.
Aaron?
Yeah, I'm going to give you damn near 60 million reasons why he's not going to BYU for one more year.
No, it was in respects like yes, I know he had a lot more money he could make, but
But like, brother, you can get your degree at any time. All right. You know what I'm saying? Steph got his later on in his career. So you can still make mama happy and get your degree eventually. All right. It's not like he's gonna have to pay out of pocket for it. You don't think the Mormons at BYU ain't finna hook him up, even though he's not technically at school or walking on campus anymore? Come on now, y'all. They didn't give him 8 million as an 18-year-old for no reason. They can handle a little tuition and all that shit, even if he's not technically a full-time student. All right. But when AJ says he might stay in college for his degree, he is weighing roughly about 12.3 million in guaranteed year one against his NIL earnings. He's making 8 million this year. Year one in the NBA, 12. 12.3 to be exact. For perspective, when LeBron James was the number one pick in 2003, his entire 4-year contract was 18.8 million. If he's the top pick, he will earn nearly that much in just the first 18 months in the league. Right? I feel like the real danger in AJ staying at BYU isn't just missing, 1 year of salary. It's kind of pushing back his eligibility of a designated rookie max extension, like a super max. By staying an extra year, he might be delaying a potential like 300 plus million. So if he wants to stay and be drafted at 22, the chances of a super max is not very high. Because remember, by the time he reaches supermax eligibility, let's just say hypothetically, he stays all 4 years, gets his degree, he gets drafted at the age of 22. When it's time for him to get that supermax, he'll be 23, 24. By that time, you're going to be compared to your peers that are also at age 23, 24. And they're going to be like, you're not at the same caliber as them because they've been in the league for 6 years. You've only been in the league for 1 to 2. So,
So
brother,
why, and this is like a genuine question, why do you think that he would be compared to people in the league that are around his age rather than being the possibly being the best option still in a draft?
because I'll give you a good example. Michael Carter Williams. Michael Carter Williams got drafted at 21 and he won Rookie of the Year. Right when it came time for him to get that rookie max extension, the reason why he didn't get it is because he was being compared to people in his age group,
Yep.
people that were already about 24, 25 years old. Who was 24 and 25 at that time? All NBA players. He wasn't that. So you're not getting all NBA money. They do that based on who are your peers. Who I'm comparing you to your peers, your age group. If you're just all you have on your resume is Rookie of the Year, but somebody the same age as you has all NBA, all stars, or all defensive, or whatever the case may be, yeah, you're not getting the kind of money he's getting. I'm not paying you the kind of money that he deserves as opposed to what your value says.
Yeah, they typically look at the age factor too, especially with young players. Like I remember Wemby was a big thing with this recently because he came in the league at 18. Even though he had a really good year, you're not looking at Wemby as, this is his first year in the league. You're looking at how does he compare to other 18-year-olds, considering the longevity he could have. Like you come in the league as a rookie at 21, well, he has 3 more years on you, and so you look at what that longevity will look like for him. So I understand that sentiment a lot. I mean, we just talked about this in terms of Bronny, and like I know we had debates on why he got drafted, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, my big standpoint on him coming to the league is even if they wasted that pick, quote unquote, he's getting 1 year, a year early of training and figuring out what the league is like and being put into real life situations. I mean, similar to like real life people out here that have always complain about like I want to stay in school, right, 1 more year and do this and that. But I've always been a fan of like get real life experience, get real job experience because that will teach you so much more. The same thing happens when you go into the league, early. And so I feel like with him, that would be my only thing. Like, yes, you can make $4 million, and I guess when you're comparing that to like anything else in life, that's still a lot of money. Yes, you can take care of your mom, and Aaron saying like super max here, what's the difference? Like maybe 20, 30, 40 million. But when you're making that much money, does that really effing matter? So like just go into the league, get that experience, work with teams, get your name around, and do what you have to do to excel in the future, and do it early so that you, like Aaron was saying, when you're being compared to people your age, you're being compared fairly. And so that would be my only thing. But Chris, from an NIL standpoint, how does that benefit NIL to have names stay rather than go?
Yeah, man. You can't put me in a box like that. I got to move around a little bit, D. But
Sure, do your thing.
couple of things about this whole topic. One, I mean, I'm addressed to NIL. I mean, this is great for NIL. NIL is essentially changing the narrative and the draft process. All right, step by step. The first part is NBA teams are always going to go young early because of the potential, which you guys have all laid out, right? If you go with a young player, a player that's a one and done, the way an NBA team sees it as he has not reached his potential. And the narrative has always been when you go with a college senior, a 22, 23-year-old, this is pretty much where he is. We watched him develop in college, and wherever he's at, it's probably where he's going to be. So he may be a player that may have whatever that impact is. Whereas that young superstar players out of high school, LeBron, Kobe, T-Mac, et cetera, Jermaine O'Neal, KG, they have the potential to be megastars, right? One and done, same concept. So, but that narrative is changing because of NIL. There used to be a push and a rush to get the financial gain by going what they call hardship. When you leave early, it's called hardship. You would have to file a claim to go hardship in the draft. Now athletes don't have to do that. So every year we see less and less and less guys coming out, going into the draft early. And one of the things that we saw that we haven't seen in a long time is, last year we saw Walter Clayton go 18 just outside of the lottery as a college upperclassman, as a senior. We saw other guys like Sion James and Maxim Raynard, from Stanford, guys that, got drafted as seniors, which hasn't been the thing. The seniors have been pushed to the second round. So that's one. This year you have, I don't know how to say, Yaxels Landenberg from Michigan, is projected kind of in that same space, late first round. And you got guys like Ezra Asar out of USC that could be a very impactful senior coming in. So I think the narrative is changing, and I think college athletes are just getting older now. Outside of the ones that go one and done, pretty much everybody's going to be older. So that's that narrative. In regards to where Aaron was at, Aaron is spot on with it is a race, right? It's a race to that second contract where there's this financial security, this lifetime financial security. And obviously the rookie deal has changed and the value is significantly more. And of course he would be losing, leaving something on the table, by not going pro. But with all that being said, I'm not mad at the sentiment of saying, you know what, I'm not necessarily in a rush to go. And I believe he's a professional, he's a pro athlete at any point. He's still going to have to prove himself. And keep this in mind, the rookie deal is only 2 years fully guaranteed. Your third and fourth year are options to the team. So there's not this guarantee that you're going to have, the complete salary of that 4-year deal. The first 2 years are guaranteed. After that, you got to earn it. So, but let me just hit one more thing. He's not going to be the number one pick. So we can get off the number one pick. There's obviously Darren Peterson's going to be the number one pick, and he may not even be the second pick. I mean, because Cameron Boozer and, depending on where teams are at, teams may go with Boozer, teams may go with Caleb Wilson. If guys want a pure point guard, they may go with my nephew, Mikhail Brown or Darius Acuff. So it's not clear cut either way. That being said, I do believe that the young man has a decision that whatever he chooses, choosing his own path, there's not the level of pressure that's typically there from a family pushing you to go. And I think that's a great thing for college sports.
Yeah. It's just one more thing. Like you were talking about like the age group, like 2 years ago, obviously we know Wemby went number one. The last like senior that was a lottery pick, he was actually a super senior too, a fifth year. That was Zach Edey, boy out of Purdue. Think about it. Wemby was 18 when he got drafted. Edey was 22, 23. By the time it's time for them to get their rookie max extensions, we know what Wemby gonna get. But Edey, it's like nah.
No doubt.
You're not finna get what he's getting. And neither one of those dudes have like, any individual accolades whatsoever. Obviously, Wemby has better numbers, but the fact that Wemby's only 20, 21 years old, but yet you're 25, 26, yeah, I'm going to obviously give most of the money to this young dude.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron, you're right. That's why that narrative has stuck. Right? That's why players are going, because there's those things at risk. But if he is unsure and he wants to satisfy some things with his mom, and he has this, because everybody that plays basketball, they're ultimately going to use their degree if they get a degree at some point, right? You're going to finish playing basketball in your 30s or in your 20s, your 30s, or if you're like LeBron and Kobe and others, you may make it to 40s. So you're going to do something else. You're going to have some level of, entrepreneurship or a job or something in that fashion. So getting that degree, I mean, I'm not mad at where he's at with it. I agree with you. You can always come back. But he is in a unique situation that he is going to continue to make significant money now, and maybe similar money, a couple million here or there, and potentially feel like he's better prepared to extend his contract later by staying in college if he chooses that route. And not saying that that's the best route.
You really think he could fall to third in the draft?
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, because like we thought he was going to be number one, but then here comes Darren Peterson, here comes Boozer, here comes Darius Acuff, here comes Caleb Wilson. He's not the only top prospect. Like it's not it's not cut and dry this year. It's just not, because this year's draft is loaded with talent. There's no clear cut number one, if you ask me. Whether it be Darren Peterson or AJ or Bruiser, no team can go wrong with either one of those guys, if we're being honest.
For sure. I mean, you got people questioning Darian Peterson, who I think all of us are clear that he is the best talent. But the fact that he hasn't been playing games, does he have an injury? People questioning his heart and desire and all of that could rob him of the number one pick. But I believe everyone in basketball, from a scouting standpoint, believe Darian Peterson is the best talent. AJ may be overall, talented in a lot of areas, but I don't. Boozer, very consistent. A big. Typically, when you have a guy that's a big and rebounding and things of that nature, his father played, his dad was very similar. So you have that narrative from the standpoint of like, we getting a true professional if we go with him. Darius Acuff, is just ripping up the entire SEC. You had a Texas coach speaking highly of him, giving him praise, calling him the best player in the entire draft. In his mind, the best player that he's seen in the last 34 years. Coach Miller, who's the head coach at Texas, and then Mikhail Brown. All of these guys played together for USA Basketball when they played in Argentina on the 18 and under team. And Mikhail Brown was by far the general of that team, was the point guard, and true point guard, so true leader. If you're looking for somebody to come in and do that, he offers that. And then, lastly, you got Caleb Wilson saying, I got all of y'all. He out there on Kobe. He like, I got all y'all names. I'm going after every last one of y'all when I face you, and my stat line is going to be better. And then so many more other guys that we're not mentioning, which is there's a race, right? You got teams tanking. Everyone thinks it's just for the number one pick or for Darren Peterson. Teams are taking to get in the mix. Teams are going to make trades, and there's a flurry of wanting to get in the mix with this draft with any of those guys. I would say in the top 12 or 14. So as Aaron alluded to, it's a very strong draft, top heavy for sure.
Yeah, I'm very excited when we look back at this specific draft the next 5, 10 years to see where it aligns in terms of all-time drafts, because the talent is definitely there. And I'm really glad, even though he's mocked right now at 6th, 7th, and 8th, depending on what site you're looking at. But Acuff is a tough bucket. And I've always been a fan of
Detroit basketball. He's
well,
from Detroit. Sorry. Detroit's
yeah,
yeah, Detroit.
No, I was gonna say
His
I'm
dad
all
was
about.
a player too.
I've always been a fan of obviously Calipari's lineups and the way he's able to develop guards. I mean, he had what, D Rose, John Wall, Jamal Murray, SGA, like I don't
Cat,
know, Cat, yeah, that too, yeah. So
Devin Booker. Like,
yeah, AD, but no, I'm very excited to see what that looks like in the future.
now I
Anything
see
else
why
before?
all these teams. I was gonna say, well, now I see why all these teams are tanking, because they see the amount of talent in this year. So I see why the Jazz are doing it, the Wizards is doing it, the Pacers is doing it, the Mavericks is doing it. I see why they're all doing it, because if you get anywhere between, like Chris said, 1 through 14, you honestly
Yeah.
won.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. I mean, I don't mean to spend too much time on this, but from a Wizard standpoint, I mean, we talked about this before. Like, I am invested right now, and if they're able to get, I mean, any of these players, I would obviously try to stay away from more some of the guards. So this is where I don't think Acuff would fit with them, because you're already locked in on the young guards that you have now. But if you're able to get a Caleb Wilson, who all he has to do is improve his 3-point ball, yeah, he could be great. Keaton Wagler, who played at Illinois, 6'6", who come in and do some work. And even Boozer, yeah, man, that's crazy. Looks good, though. With that being said, we are going to pivot now. It's I love the NBA, obviously for the talent, but sometimes too also love it for how we're able to read into stuff just a little bit more than we should and create just a little bit of drama. So we're going to do that right now with the Timberwolves. Obviously, with them re-signing veteran Anderson, who does play slow. One of his upsides and abilities that is appreciated around the league is his ability to pass. And Rudy Gobert is not being shy in saying that I'll be straight up. We need someone that is looking to pass the ball to his teammates. That actually comes, timing is crazy, right off of Anthony Edwards not wanting to pass the ball, but hitting that game winner. His usage rate, guys, is high as fuck at 32%, which is to be expected when that's your go-to guy, your superstar. He is also averaging a career high at about 30 per game, 29.7 if we're being exact. Ashley, with Rudy not sugarcoating things, is he just praising Kyle Anderson in return? In doing so, is he also, and here's where the drama comes in, taking shots at Ant and Randle? Or again, are we reading too much into that?
I don't think you can really say you're reading too much into anything these days. I think that there's always, for the most part, some type of underlying message. So no, I don't think it's a stretch or just creating drama to say that he was sending a message or throwing a little shot with those comments.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Straight to it, right?
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting her to say that.
Yeah, right to it.
Shit. Aaron, does he need to pass the ball more?
Fuck no. All right. Rudy Gobert, you are a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. Your value is in screen setting, rim protection, and gravity, not post ups, right? When he whines about not getting the ball, he's ignoring that the Timberwolves offense is statistically more efficient when the ball is in the hands of the elite creators like Anthony Edwards, all right, rather than being forced into the post for a Rudy hook shot. All right, we all know what that looks like. It don't look sexy, all right? As of March, the Timberwolves are 39-23 and sitting fourth in the Brewer Western Conference. Actually, let me rephrase that. They're actually third now as of last night. So why even rock the boat by making these comments public? All right, he's creating a narrative for internal tension that didn't need to exist. If the team is winning, his individual stats which are at a 10-year low of scoring, by the way, it shouldn't matter. And another problem I got with Rudy is earlier in February, you called for players to be benched for lack of effort. However, you faced 2 suspensions this season for flagrant foul point accumulation. It's hard to take your accountability lectures seriously when your own lack of discipline has forced you to miss key games against very good teams.
What is that? What did he get suspended for? What did you say?
He got kicked out of games, like literally early, like first quarter, against very key teams. It happened twice last month. So to sit up here and say we can't be showing lack of effort and we need to show more accountability, yet here you are getting kicked out in literally the first 3 to 4 minutes of very important games against very important teams. I don't want to hear you talk, because obviously you don't have enough accountability to hold to yourself to a high standard. So how are you going to sit up here and tell me I need to hold myself to a higher standard by passing the ball? You can't even control your goddamn temper.
Oh, okay. I will. So I'm actually going to come to Rudy's defense on this one, because yes, I agree he's telling the truth. I agree with Ashley on that. But in the sentiment of being a hooper, yes, you can say because they're winning, he should dial it back and put his emotions to the side. But that's his own value too, right? I've always been and you know this, Aaron. I've always been a fan of getting the big involved, because I think in order to win a championship, you have to have that. And if you look at Rudy's game, yes, he's been a defender, but he's also been a really solid lob threat. He's been that connecting piece. And when you look at the Wolves lineup, right, they got rid of Mike Conley. I don't remember if they brought it back. I haven't brought him back. Shit was weird with that. But he was that connecting piece. And when you removed him out of the lineup and then decided to go with Dybantsa, then you're looking at a bunch of ball stoppers. And that's really why Ant has been able to have that usage rate that he's had. And so I think that's where the problem comes in is like, yeah, I understand, like, do your job. But what if your job for the last 10 years has been defend and still be able to get a bucket every now and then, or be that last man, that front court presence that you need? You're not getting that anymore. And I think if they're able to make a long run, I think their downside is going to be the fact that they're not getting him involved.
Get him involved to do what?
Again, if you're
To
not
score?
utilizing him as a lob, you need that. You
There
can't rely on two guys to do everything.
For the past 2 years, we have seen the head coach, Chris Finch, take him out. Not even for his offense, because we're not getting shit for him offensively. They're taking him out for what he specializes in, which is defense. Why? Because teams are specifically attacking him. We saw what Luka did on that finals run when he was with the Mavericks. What was the sole game plan? go at you. The 4-time defensive player of the year, we're going at you. What does that say about Rudy? To where you are such a liability in what you specialize in, which is defense, that your head coach has to take you out in late fourth quarter games in crunch time. What does that say about him? So not only am I not getting shit from you offensively, I can't even get shit from you what you're literally getting paid $300 million for.
I can understand the defensive aspect. I get that. I don't have an argument for that. But you can't keep saying we don't get shit from you offensively if you're not fucking trying to get him involved offensively.
What? Name me a Rudy Gobert go-to post move.
Again, I'm
He
not
has
talking
air
about.
ball to dunk.
Exactly.
Murph?
He has air ball to dunk. From 2 feet away.
Exactly.
He's 7'4".
And you're talking about him being a lob threat. What type of athleticism does he have?
Come on now,
He
stop
ain't
that. He's always been that. He's
No,
always
he's
been
just
that.
tall.
He can't catch a lob now. He hasn't catch lobs for the last however long he's been in the league.
I can't even remember the
we're not
last
doing
time
that.
he fucking caught a lob.
Okay. Well, don't worry. I'm gonna devote all damn day to just putting a damn montage together of him catching hoops for you.
You're going to do Rudy
That's
Gobert
crazy,
highlights. It's
Kyle.
about to be a 2-minute clip.
Hey, with 200 lobs, so it don't matter. Kyle, to catch, or do you need caught up, or you know what we're talking
No,
about?
I know what it was. It was through talking about him talking about passing the ball. Like, basically, I came in the middle of Aaron talking, but he ain't passing it to you. At the end of the day, he not getting the ball. He's not the person I'm passing it to. Get it off the rim, put the ball back, and then I think his defensive. He's a tall guy. He can kind of move a little bit. So it's just like he is effective on defense just because of his stature. So I'm not going to completely say he's ass, but like offensively, like you're talking about it, like you're talking about pass the ball, like you're going to do a drop step, shimmy shake or hook. Like, no, I don't believe you doing any of that stuff. As soon as you put the ball on the ground, it's a turnover.
That sounds something, man. Chris,
I've been saying this for months about Rudy. I do not like Rudy.
This is all personal take. This is not basketball. It's personal. Is Rudy your favorite player? No. But is Rudy consistent? Is Rudy needed? Is he a tremendous asset to their team? The overall team structure, yes. He is essentially the second most consistent player from the standpoint of he's played 60 games. The only other player on the roster that's played more, you're talking about Aaron is pointing out, he missed a couple of games. He's played 60 games. Julius Randle has played 63. Jaden McDaniels has played 61. So he's playing all the games, right? He's playing all the minutes. He averages 31 minutes a night, and he's a double-double guy. You need him. You need him on your team because he's giving you 12 boards a game. He's giving you 11 points. If all of his points are coming off of tip-ins, putbacks, and you go to the hole in the very last minute, the big close out on you, and then you're near the rim and you just kind of throw it up at the rim and Rudy's right there hanging out in the middle of the floor and he just tips it in, that's a threat, as Darian is saying. I get it. Like, from a personal standpoint, Aaron, you don't like him. Murph, we know you don't like him.
I never said I didn't like him.
I don't
I'm just saying
dislike him.
I don't
Sound
want.
like it.
No, I'm
on.
not saying I didn't like
Yeah,
him.
Mike
I
said that
said
opinion.
that don't sit up here and tell people to be held accountable
All right,
when
let's get to
we
that.
get to the playoffs and you're the one that is being taken out in late game situations because
That's just give kudos to the coach. Kudos to the coach. Give some support to the coach for being able to manage the game to say, you know what, the style, this 7-game format, the team that we playing, it's a strategy. It ain't, it's chess. So you know what? They're going small. We got to adjust to that. So maybe that affects Rudy Gobert. Maybe that affects particular players. So it is a chess match throughout the playoffs. You can't play the exact same way you played in the regular season because teams are going to adjust. We playing you every other night, so we're going to give you something different. So that's a chess match, but that's not Rudy, you shitty. Rudy, you suck. We can't play you. No, Rudy brings to the table what he brings to the table. I'm a footer. If somebody's coming down the lane, I'm a challenge your shot. You're going to have to make some level of adjustment if I'm in the game. And I'm a bail several of you guys out when you guys on the other end are going to the rack and you get cut off, and then you can throw this lob threat, as Darian has said. So his job is his job. Now, whether it is the functionality of the style or the strategy at times in the playoffs or in games, that's it. So be it. In regards to him calling Ant out, you typically don't have players calling out the superstar of the team. But I think it is needed, right? I mean, if somebody doesn't try to hold the superstars accountable on the team, then they're gonna run them up, right? There has been criticism about Amp, not that I'm criticizing, of him, and he handled it very well, of taking the last shot, coach telling him to pass the ball, him taking a double contested 3-pointer, him making it and yelling, "This is what the fuck I do." Okay. But after that, when he was interviewed, he was like, yo, me and my coach got a great relationship. 95% of the time, he is right. But the media, others, teams, players gave him a lot of criticism for that. So this take on where Rudy's at, I'm not mad at that. Like, you're all brothers. You're in the locker room. If you can't challenge your brother about, yo, bro, swing that motherfucker every now and then what we doing? Then we just need you play one-on-one, and we'll all come out here and set screens for you, and hopefully it go in.
No, I mean, if he's talking about the team, I barely watched the quote, but like if he's talking about the team, like the team needs to pass, he needs to pass the ball to the team. Okay, like if he needs to move the ball around, swing the ball, trust your players, I get that. But how I took it is Rudy Gobert was like, I'm not getting enough touches. Like if you're not getting enough, like your job, you're not an offensive threat. You're a defensive threat because you are just because you are a footer and you can adjust the shots, you can do all that stuff. But back to what Aaron was saying, if you're strategic, if it's chess and you're a 4-time defensive player of the year and you're strategically getting taken out because you can't guard somebody, that says a lot. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I respect his leadership. I respect him calling out Ant Edwards by saying that. That's just like a clash of the Titans because, Ant's a competitor. Like, he wants that. He wants that shot. He wants that pressure. So, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if it doesn't and somebody calls you out on your team and it's like, you need to pass it, trust your team a little bit more, okay. But if he's saying, give me the ball and I need more touches, I don't, as a spectator, I don't agree with that. I don't think he needs to have the ball more. He just needs to get his rebounds and put the ball back in the rim.
Okay, fine. Maybe he doesn't need to get the ball more. If we're going with that sentiment, that doesn't negate the fact that 65% of the offense comes from two players. They're 18th in the league in assists, which is the bottom half, which means, yes, they're offensively talented and they can score and they can win games that way right now, but it's not that type of offense that wins you in the postseason and takes you on deep runs. It's a system. So if we're not talking about just him directly, maybe that's shared throughout the locker room. Do they not need to pass? Let's just generalize it down to one question. Do they not need to pass more to their team?
Yeah. You got two dominant players that hold the ball too much. Yes, I do believe that.
Yes. And they're not going to win, to what you're saying, D. If they want to make a run, they better go ahead and start figuring this out. It's kind of what I went to with Mike Brown with the Knicks when I was talking about Mike trying to figure that shit out. They better be trying to figure out what's going to work in the playoffs and make some level of adjustments now. You can't keep playing the game the exact same way and think that it's going to get done. I'm with Rudy on this. Pass the ball more. Let's move it. The ball shouldn't stick. We have a sentiment in the league. We always say the ball shouldn't stick. I always go back to the Golden State Warriors. What made them so great? The ball never stuck. So, yes, Ant-Man is amazing. They got two guys that dominate the ball, but I believe that, there's gets played off the floor, Rudy. Yeah, I mean, that's just strategy, right? The question here, Rudy always have to come off the floor, played off the floor, I guess. That's just strategy. Everybody's going to have strategy. I mean, we can go back to, you look at the Olympic team. Jason Tatum did not play for the Olympic team, and one could say that he might have been the most talented player on the entire team. He argued that I was the only one that was first team All-NBA, but yet he was unable to play. Strategy. I mean, whether you agree or disagree, coaches have to make adjustments in order to feel what they think is the best team at that time to win that game. That doesn't mean that Rudy is not a threat or that Rudy doesn't affect the game, based on the style.
He affects the game just defensively. I just don't think offense is his thing.
Oh, it's not. It ain't his thing, but it could be, right? You could attack, and then throw it up there. And if he had Chris Paul, right? Chris Paul, often in his career made guys, look incredible by lob threat. We talked about What's the big kid that they was that they were clowning recently? Sorry, slipped my mind. That your boy Aiden said y'all trying to make me into.
Clint Capella.
Clint Capella.
Capella, right? By being a lob threat, right? Because he
Yes,
played with
yes.
guys that paid attention and recognized that, yo, I got this big coming down the lane. And Clint Capella got paid. Clint Capella became, you know, a bigger name or a bigger threat because he had guys that focused on making sure he was a threat. So you don't have that in Minnesota. So maybe if Rudy played with better guards or guys that look for that threat, I'm not going to say better, but guys that look for that threat, he would be more effective.
How long has Rudy been in the league?
Like 10 something years.
And no one ever has decided to make him a lob threat because he probably doesn't show that type of his game. Like he's been in Utah, he's been in Minnesota, he's been in the league for 10 years, and then you're saying in your 10 plus years or maybe whatever, and you're telling me now it's like, oh, maybe we should make him a lob threat. You think I'm sure that came across many times in his career. It's just not part of his game. Why would you wait 10
It
years
is
for
part
the
of his
7?
game, though. He might not be labeled as a lob threat, but buckets in previous years in his history have been at the rim like that.
Exactly.
I know that because I pull film.
He's
I mean,
7 foot. He can dunk. I'm not saying he can't dunk. I'm just saying it's not part of his game. Like it's not what he needs. Like he doesn't have an offensive package.
I mean, Kyle, I'm glad you brought up the Utah thing because we've seen this move before. Because in Utah, Rudy made comments about winning the right way and playing for each other. Eventually, fractured his relationship with Donovan Mitchell. So this ain't new.
I mean, Rudy averaged 14,
Thank
14,
you, X.
16, 15, 14, and 16 as a big for the Jazz, as a big in a
He's a
in a
great
league
double-double.
that doesn't feature bigs. So he averaged 15 a game as an average for the Jazz in a league in a double double in a league that
Yeah.
doesn't feature bigs and has been defensive player of the year. Like what more? Okay, he's tall. Oh, he should do more. That people have been saying shit like that for years. That's like a cop out. Oh, if I was 7 foot, I'd be doing this. That's bullshit. What he has been doing is he averaged 15 and 10, 12, double double in the NBA and has been defensive player of the year. Now, is he the go-to on offensive? All that? No. But you can't just shit on the dude's career and be like, he the problem, he the this. No, he
I'm not
does
shitting
what
on
he
his
do.
career. I'm saying he doesn't have an offensive package.
Doesn't have an
He's a. It's just like I feel like he could have worded it a little different by saying like we need to pass the ball. It sounds like he needs the ball more. Like that's not your job. Everybody has a role in the league. We all know that. His role is to be a defensive and make a defensive impact. He's a defensive player, 4-time defensive player of the year. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve them. He won them for a reason. Whatever reason he did it, but he won the defensive player of the year. Being a leader and saying we need to pass the ball as just an overall entirety of the team, yeah, I agree with that because like Darren just said, 65% of the buckets come from 2 players. That's not good. Like that's not good. It's not sustainable. But offensively, like he does his job. I don't think he's an offensive threat. Like he's not a lob threat. He's not these things that y'all are saying. That's all I'm saying.
All right,
All
let's
right.
just be real simple. Is the sentiment do they need to pass the ball more? As a panel, we
He's
all agree with
correct. As a leader, yes, he needs to see that.
that.
Yes.
Do they need to pass the ball more? Does everyone
Yes.
agree with that? Okay, all 5 of us say yes. I believe Ash. I believe Ash did. Okay, all right. Number 2, did anybody step up and say anything on the Minnesota Timberwolves about we need to pass more, besides Rudy? No, no. Okay, so no one said shit. He's the only one that said shit, and we all agree that they need to pass the ball more. What are we talking about? Now, we can pick apart his game and who he is and what all of that, but the bottom line is the words that were spoken are accurate, and he had the courage to say it.
I respect that.
All right, great. So we just got to take it at face value. With that being said, if we're on the subject of players getting more touches or needing more touches, Jason Tatum is officially listed as being questionable for tonight's game. Now, if he plays, we won't know until game time. But the fact that he will probably be activated this season is is insane to me. But nonetheless, Ashley, with a team that has really defied all odds and has taken a stance and has been as successful as they have been despite not having him in a roster change, with him making his return, how does he fit back into this team? What's your expectations for JT?
That's a huge piece to bring back in. and that's going to disrupt a lot of things. And I think a lot of people are just going to probably assume like, oh, this is great, oh, this is going to be such a positive impact. But having bringing a piece that huge into back into the puzzle, like it's going to be some adjustment. So I don't know what my expectations would be. I also don't know what your expectations can be on his first couple games back after an injury such as he had. um so I don't know, my expectations wouldn't be that big, I'm not gonna lie. uh but that doesn't just come from him and his ability, that also comes from like, because they have their system, because they have their flow, like bringing in something that's going to disturb it is going to have probably an impact that is not necessarily expected, whichever way you look at it.
I I agree. I mean, we just heard this quote because this documentary I think just came out, and it's the only soundbite that I was able to pull from it is that I didn't come back to be a role player, which I get that. I mean, you can't be who you were, sustain that injury, and then the mental capacity around that is just is different. But realistically, 298 days with an Achilles injury, and we've all shared this sentiment, is incredibly fast turnaround. So I expect that probably a minute restriction will be in place for a while, right? I don't know what that will look like, but
20
uh,
minutes.
he 20 minutes. I was thinking maybe like 15, but yeah, 20 sounds good. And he definitely won't be playing any fucking back to backs, that for sure. But with them being second in the East, I think as long as he doesn't have that hero mentality, then I think they should be good because him just being a we talked about Steph earlier. I talked about Steph earlier about that that gravitational pull. As long as he has that, because JT at 70%, Kyle, I called you about this about Jokic, but JT at 70% is still really good. That's still better than most players in the league, right? I think the only challenge they're going to face there in Boston is just how do you reintegrate a high usage superstar like that. Especially with the way Derek White's playing and Peyton Pritchard stepped into his role really well. So that's going to be hard. But Chris, that system that they have has always been elite since Joe's been in that spot. So I think they should be okay. But what do you guys think about Kyle, Aaron, Chris, about how his mindset might be going into the end of this season? Will it work?
I mean, for one, like most Achilles recoveries for NBA players, it's like the 9 to 12 month range. And like you said, he's coming back after 298 days. Remember, Katie took like a full gap year, 552 days to be exact.
Yeah.
But obviously, he feels confident in returning. I remember we spoke about this earlier about when the rumors first started about him returning, and we said we don't want him to come back because obviously, worst case scenario, he could come back too soon and then rupture it again. Obviously, knock on wood, nobody wants that to happen. But Joe Mazzulla is going to handle this very well. He's probably the best coach with his mindset to handle this kind of situation. He's probably going to pull JT this out. Maybe he's already done it and be like, I'm probably going to bring you off the bench. You are going to be on a minutes restriction, and hell no, you ain't playing no back-to-backs. But I think the main conversation that probably needs to be had is you need to put your ego to the side and continue to let JB steer the ship.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing. I don't think nobody's worried about what he's going to be able to do on the basketball court. It's going to be who is going to be the one that gets us back to the finals, and it's going to have to be JB. And you got to continue to let him be that person, because the worst thing that could happen is JT comes in and be like, hey guys, I'm back. It's my shit again, and then you just disrupt the whole rhythm.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been looking at this, at least me, as a in a negative light of him coming back and all the reasons he shouldn't. But in a more positive spin, if this team was who they are today, and Jason Tatum was never on this team, they are a top 5 offensive efficiency team this year. They look really good. What if we look at it from a lens of they were already really good, and they're now adding a piece in Jason Tatum who can give you 27 to 40 a night? Will we not be like, damn, this team is going to the finals? Will we not look at it like that?
if he was averaging 27.
If you-
Yeah, but he ain't finna average on 27.
yeah, not
Well,
I
bad.
give him
not
I
right
give him
now.
I give him 17
Right
at
now,
most.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But even when
Next
KD was
year,
coming back off that, people were looking, damn, like this could still be elite.
yeah, but remember he took
I know what he took.
a year and a half. This is less than a year. All right. So it made sense why Katie came back right out the gate averaging what, like fucking 30, because he had all that time in between to make sure not only that he was 100%, but also that like he could for sure go.
Yeah.
He had a whole summer and all that shit. Jason Tatum didn't have a whole summer,
Yeah.
right? But I foresee Jason Tatum averaging somewhere between 15, 17. That 27 points a game, that's next season. That's next season.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
Also
mental battle. I
consider.
feel like.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, no, it's just a mental battle. I mean, you see the potential that you have. You know the type of player that you are. You know, like yeah, I'm sure he personally feels good about it, and he, trusting himself again on the court. But I still think he needs to sit down for the summer to get that chemistry, build that teamwork, and then they can actually have that conversation of like who's going to be steering the ship because JB is really putting a very, very, very big argument that he's the best player and he always has been the best player. And then Jason Tatum coming in is like, it's not a drop off, but him coming in is taking the touches from those role players that we have now seen step up. So you have to give the ball to Tatum or JB, and then so it takes away that chemistry a little bit.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think also the time in which he's like coming, it's gearing up to be the most competitive part of the season. So I don't know. I think that part of me part of me wants to say it, and especially with comments and stuff that he's made, that it's kind of an ego thing, the return, because I'm sure it hurts a little bit to see that your team is still successful without you. Like, let's just keep it a buck. Like that. That's gonna be a part of the game when you speak so highly of yourself. You have made such an impact on the team. You led this team for so long and have been able to solidify yourself as one of, if not the best player on the team. And then you remove you don't remove yourself, but you get removed from the equation, and they're still one of the top teams and a contending team. That's got to hurt. That's going to hurt. So I don't know. It part of me is like, it's kind of selfish because it's going to disrupt things, and this isn't the time to try to make these big adjustments when you are top team. Like I don't know if I would think that he's gonna come back if they're not competing, if they're not a contending team.
And that's true. You got to think about who he is. I mean, he's not that far removed from being in MVP conversations, being a lead leader in scoring. Obviously, they won a finals together. And Kobe's his guy, so he shares a similar mentality. I understand the ego in that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's literally just a mental struggle he has to do. 'Cause the potential is crazy. Like if he comes back, like you were saying earlier, like if he comes back and gets that, miraculous 27 points a game from coming back, because we know the type of talent he is, then yeah, they're championship contending team yet again for that nobody knew that was going to come from. Like that was going to happen. So that mental battle is crazy. He's got to humble himself or come in and produce. Don't mess up the chemistry.
Chris, what are you thinking? I know JB's your guy.
Yeah. So one, let me just give a little bit of information. There's a guy by the name of Dr. Martin O'Malley, and he's a foot specialist that pretty much all of the NBA players go. I've had several guys go to him for repairs, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is Dr. O'Malley created this technique that he does himself. I think he calls it the speed bridge. And this speed bridge technique that he uses, he essentially has like an internal splint that he uses for the tendon, for the Achilles tendon. So, which is a reason why JT would be able to come back faster. So, just FYI, it's like you think a splint on your hand or something like that. He has this like added protection to help him. So, and typically a ruptured Achilles is much better than a tear because when it ruptures, it fully detaches, and then when you connect in it, I mean, I think a couple of us have Achilles tendon tears, ruptures. So the Achilles is safe, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor, but I don't see that the injury being affected. typically in this case, all you have to do is it's all about the strengthening of the muscles surrounding the Achilles, the ankle, and things of that nature to make sure that he's able to sustain and still have the same lift. That being said, that's really the only thing in question. The difference between the player that comes back in this time and the one that takes more time is just strength in the muscles surrounding the injury, even in a knee situation.
Not only that too, Chris, but the reason
Yeah.
they say to take more time is the fact that you've taken that much time off to strengthen the Achilles. They're always affected about actually the opposite leg of that and the ligaments on the opposite leg because now they have been weakened. So yes, my only sentiment on that would be as long as he's been what she has, the NBA player, they have the medicine, as long as he's taking care of strengthening both of those, and yeah, they shouldn't have to worry about a subsequent injury.
Yeah, what you hear is a great point, D. What you often hear is often that the injured knee or leg or ankle or whatever sometimes comes back stronger because,
Yeah.
but the support that you have in the NBA. Now, if you have regular doctors like myself, that ain't happening. But the regular public that ain't. But in NBA, they're going to focus so much on strengthening the muscles around that. That being said, going specific about the dynamics of the team, I am I give JT credit. Like that is very courageous. Very courageous. Because he is stepping in and saying, I am willing to take on all the criticism, all of the potential negativity about me individually and about our team if things don't go amazing. Like it is an incredible risk. So for him to do that, that takes an enormous amount of courage. Because outside of winning a championship, I guess, he will probably get negative criticism. You know what I mean? Oh shit, he came back. We were doing fine. We were been great. His game will be critiqued every game if he's not shooting 50% from the field. 38% or better from three. Not being a defensive liability. So and then ultimately from the team's record, if they don't improve or continue at the same space, he's going to get criticized. So it's very tough. Um, I guess if I was a Boston fan, I'd be excited, right? Because we have more talent. We got another piece, an all-star player coming back, what most of them have viewed as their leader. Although we do have the quotes from J.R. Smith
Oh yeah.
recently saying that the team has always been. And let me ask you that, Ashley. I don't know if you saw that quote, but J.R. Smith came on talking about the team has always been JB's
JB.
team, right? And the media has made it JT's team. So I would ask, is that something that potentially has played in the timing because it's identical, right? That quote was just a couple of days ago, or maybe
Yeah.
yesterday, and then boom, he's coming back right now. Do you think that played into anything with that from an ego standpoint?
Yeah, 100%. That's pretty much kind of what I hinted at earlier. I'm not gonna lie, and I think because putting myself in JT's situation, like that's gonna sting, that's gonna hurt, and um, I don't think that it would just be now that you're hearing those things about whose team it is, and then you're kind of the one who's in the limelight, and then you get removed from the situation, and then he shows up and shows out, so yeah, I don't think that's a stretch at all.
Yeah. I want to give props to both JT and JB because for the past 2, 3 years, that has been like the topic of conversation in Boston. Whose team is
Yeah.
it? And I think both of them have done a good job in just not even like giving any inkling or subtle jab or whatever term you want to use to let people know whose team it is. It's like, why y'all keep asking us that same fucking question? That's been their whole mindset around it. So I applaud them for that. They're not letting that notion or that topic of who is the face of the franchise, whose team it is, get inside their heads or in that locker room. This is Superman, Batman. All right. This ain't no Batman and Robin. It's Superman, Batman. I need him just as much as he needs me. And I'm not letting you guys fuck up this duo that could be very successful because they're both still young as shit. They're both in their mid to late 20s, 27, 28 years old. This is go on for the next 7 to 8 years. I'm not. They have got in heads. I'm not letting the media fuck this up for us.
Very well said. All right, anything on that subject before we wrap this up with our last topic? Okay. All right, beautiful. There is a team in the NCAA, since we're in March Madness right now, this is perfect to talk about this. Aaron, you had brought this up where they went 30-0. 30-0, not one single loss. Miami Redhawks. They are the only undefeated team at the Division I level, yet somehow analysts still have them as an 11 seed or even a first four exit. Aaron, you want to talk a little bit about this situation?
Yeah. So basically, Miami of Ohio, which is in the MAC conference, have been on like a amazing run. They're now currently 30-0, on the verge of being 31-0. But because of the way like the NCAA tournament is set up, it kind of hurts mid majors in a way, because when you're a mid major school, like the only way for you to get in is if you win your conference tournament, regardless of your record, right? And the chances of, two mid-major schools getting in from the MAC, that hasn't been done. I think I looked it up. It was like since like 1997 or 1998. That was the last time the MAC sent two teams to the tournament. So like even if like Miami of Ohio doesn't win the conference tournament, like the chances of the actual conference tournament winner and them getting in, slim to none. We don't care about that 31-0. But like, allow me to play devil's advocate. I mean, the tournament's mission is to find the best 68 teams. And if they lose to a team like Akron or Kent State in the MAC tournament, they've proven that they aren't even the definitive best team in a one-bid league. Even the selection committee has won it mid-majors for years, has been warning them for years. Schedule up or risk it. And they've been playing non-conference strength of schedule, which is ranked 360th out of 364 teams. They have a cupcake schedule. They haven't given the committee any data on how they perform against a top 25 opponent. They've won 7 games by 3 points or fewer. I mean, finding a way to win is great at a large bid, but still, like, do you expect them to get chosen over a team like Auburn or Texas who have 10 plus losses but actually have beaten top 10 opponents?
Oh, wait, okay, so that's on me then. You mean to tell me? So the only thing I read on this, and I should have done more research, is that they had attempted to call 20 plus schools, major programs, and they were all declined to play this year. So you're telling me their record is based on an easy schedule? They haven't played anybody?
No. I'm saying the committee is the one, the NCAA selection committee is the one basing their strength of schedule on whether or not they will make the tournament, even if they don't win the conference tournament.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Did they
haven't
play
played
anybody this year?
No,
They haven't played no top 25 teams whatsoever.
Then fuck no. Fuck no, they should not be in the tournament. No,
why,
what
that's
the
why
hell are
we're
we even
just
talking
hearing
about?
about
Fuck
it when
no.
they're 31-0.
Hell
Like that's
no.
why we're
Nah,
just
sit
hearing
this
about
one
it.
out. What the hell? Play somebody next. Play teams next year, but 30-0 don't mean shit to me if you hadn't played nobody.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
No.
Hold
I
on.
mean, 30-0 is cool. It's cool to win 30
No, it
games
ain't.
in a row, but like if you're
No,
not,
it
I mean,
ain't.
it's cool to win 30 games in a row because it's still hard because a lot of times people play to the level of the talent that they're playing against. So it's just like I think it's cool to win 30 games in a row, but we're about to enter March Madness and you're just being brought up. So it's just like that shows like how impactful the games you were playing really weren't.
But
They
you gotta
weren't that
think
impactful.
You got to think about the narrative, Kyle. If they
Yeah,
go
no.
if they go undefeated
Yeah.
and they don't win the MAC, it would look crazy that a team that went 32-0 in the regular season didn't make the NCAA tournament. It would look crazy. All
Well, they're
because
ranked, right?
they're currently ranked, but when it
Ranked.
comes to
So then,
mid-major school,
so then
yeah,
that should be the end of the conversation. If you're in the top 25, I
yeah,
don't know why the fuck you wouldn't be like.
Thank you, Ashley.
which I agree. I'm
It's
not
weird.
I'm not against
Ashley.
being in the tournament.
Jesus.
They
But
put
context
themselves
is
up for
everything.
failure with that.
Shit.
Yeah.
Men be
Yeah, I'm
quiet,
not-
Ashley speak.
What do you think?
I don't
He
know.
said,
what
yeah,
you're-
go
Men
ahead,
be
go ahead,
quiet
Ashley.
and let Ashley speak. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, look, that's ridiculous because in the same way you have teams that are in high major conference that like pack their schedule, or actually lack thereof, because they know they're going to play a hard schedule in the SEC. You know, like you see that on the women's side, at least you see that with LSU. They don't play nobody until that conference ship starts for real. You know, and I know it's a little bit different because then you go and you play some competition and everything, but like ducking competition is ducking competition regardless of where you are at. And if you're able to go 30-0, that's a lot. That's hard. It is
It is
hard to
hard.
win 30 games in a row regardless of who you are playing. Like it just is what it is in terms to be that consistent, to be able to perform and have these like young men go in and day out and continue to do this. Yeah, like so if they don't win their conference tournament, it does not wash away the rest of their season. They need to bring Cinderella stories back. Okay? That's why tournaments are
You're gonna
so
get
fucking
cooked
like
again.
boring, cuz it's like, okay, these are probably the four people who are going to win. Like it's pretty simple. And NIL, that's where the downside of NIL is, because it keeps the great people the great people. Like you don't have these stories that 10 years down the line you're going to make this awesome crazy movie about. Like we don't have that no more, because the people are going where people are going to go because they have the money to be able to fund that. So shit, put them in the fucking tournament, doesn't matter. Like fuck, like
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of teams that are kind of guaranteed to be where they are because of the conferences that they're in. And like, it doesn't leave room for like I said, Cinderella stories. So shit, there shouldn't even be a thing. If they're, especially that they're ranked. I thought they was gonna be 30-0 and not be ranked. So
No, they're
really,
number
what are we
19.
talking about?
They're
They're
Yeah,
number
number
but
10,
what?
10. That's true.
but the net rating is 53.
I don't give a
Well,
fuck
yeah,
about that net
that's gonna
rating.
come because because
They
of
didn't play
their
nobody.
strength of schedule and everything.
Right.
And that's fine. But
I don't know. I mean, I agree with you in the sentiment that it's essentially saying here that, winning is less important than the conference you play in. I get that. But I feel like if, we always talk about like how can we improve systems? This system obviously is one that needs to be improved. But I think if I don't think you can go 30-0 not playing anybody. Like to qualify for the tournament and going forward, you have to at least play, I don't know, one or two major conference teams to even be able to
Test the
have that
waters to
rank.
see where you're standing at. Yeah, to see where you're standing at. Just play a top like one of those major teams. Shit, Darren, we talk about this. I'm not gonna say any specific stuff, but we talk about this all the time about a certain school of like what happens and
Hanley.
why we don't
Go say
respect
it.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, I also don't think it's good mentally for people to be like, yeah, like
It sets you up for failure.
I'm we're yeah we're 30-0, but we're not playing these solid teams. And then you play these teams that are NBA talent and caliber teams, and then you get cooked, and it's just like shit. Now all that like motivation you had, that's just crushed. And
And
I mean, but I agree with Ashley too. I love a Cinderella story.
yes,
Like
yes,
I love a Cinderella story.
yes. But it circles back, Chris, to our conversation where you said, quote unquote, if I know it's not, I mean, you can't compare the two because of the age difference, but the mental side of it is the exact same thing with these young kids. We're teaching them, in those final minutes of the game, hey, like, are we working on things we're supposed to work on because it's instilling false confidence for us to be dominating everybody. We're going 30-0, and then we get to playing real competition, and we haven't been tested. So, do those align for you in any way, Chris?
So in this situation, first of all, I'm from the Midwest, and so the MAC conference to me is widely been a mid-major conference. It's a good conference. There's been over 90 NBA players since the league started. 90 players from that conference have played in the NBA, and you've had some guys that we got to go back a ways, but most recently, the kid Ryan Rollins, who's dominating for the Bucks right now,
Yeah, true.
he's a MAC player. Played at Toledo. You know what I mean? Ray J. Dennis in and out. A kid that was started in the MAC, then moved up to Baylor. There's been a lot of guys. I mean, there's
Wasn't
been guys.
Ja in the MAC?
Ja was in a mid-major conference, but it wasn't actually in the MAC. But there's been a shit ton of guys that played at mid-majors. Here's the problem that this team is facing. Exactly the sentiment that Ashley is saying, and you mentioned it, Darian. They call teams. So if I call
You did.
Michigan and I say, hey, we want to play you, what value does Michigan have by playing us? You're about to be a really, really, really good mid-major team. You're the only one that wins.
That
Because
wins
if
it.
we beat you, it's expected for us to beat you. But if you upset us, now you put us in jeopardy, right? Or if I'm a lower level team in a high major, right? I'm Northwestern in the Big Ten, right? We're not that good, and I play you, and I lose to you. Now my fan base is like, what the fuck are we doing losing to mid majors? Get this coach out of here. So there's no carrot, there's no caveat for teams, higher level teams, power four teams to play really good mid majors. So I'm sure they called, as they said, we've called a bunch of teams, they didn't want to play us. So we have to play who we're available to play. You have to agree, right? It's a contract. You have to agree to play us. But to go 17-0 in your conference, it doesn't matter what conference you're in. To go undefeated in your conference in the regular season, that we talk about what's the team out west that went from a mid-major to a high major? They're still in a mid-major conference. Gonzaga. Gonzaga's the same thing. It's not a great conference. They go undefeated every year. If they get knocked off by like a St. Mary's, who tends to be pretty good every now and
The
then,
rival. Yeah.
they're still going to be in the tournament. So this team, as Ashley said, they've proven they're ranked as a top 15 team. They need an at-large before shitty fill in the blank, SEC
A
team.
15-15 ACC team.
Yeah, like come on.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, Chris, how schools weren't willing to play them, because the same exact thing happened to like me when I was playing college ball. Like my freshman year, we were terrible. And then my sophomore season, we opened up the season playing D1 Marshall. Keep in mind, my school's a D2. D1 Marshall gladly took that phone call to play a D2 team to open up their season. We almost beat them until it came down to the last 3 minutes. We only lost by 4. Went on that season to win 20-something games. The next season, our coach was like, y'all want to play Marshall again? Hell yeah. We almost beat them the first time. Let's try it again. They didn't pick up because we just won 20-plus games, and we brought back literally the same team, plus got better. They were like, nope, we're not opening up a season losing to a D2 school. That is a real thing.
By the way, speaking on that, our guy Aaron Miller is Hall of Fame. Like, we just want to point that out. He is.
I ain't shit, y'all.
Yeah,
Because I don't need them niggas coming for me looking up my stats and shit.
Hall of Fame.
I mean, they look up their stats to go see Hall of Fame. What you mean?
Yeah, but still.
Hall of Fame.
Let me see what this Aaron Miller nigga talk about. Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. All right, yeah, buddy. Man. Drew Martin, thank you for that on the Gonzaga tip. We appreciate that.
All right. Then to close out this segment and the show, then again, we're all about pushing the game further. How can the NCAA, what's our sentiments on how they can improve this so that we're still able to get Cinderella stories, or making sure it's not the best 68 teams, but the most deserving 68 teams?
It's tough, man, because even Jay Williams just said yesterday the years of Cinderella teams is over.
Yeah.
He did say that, yeah.
And I'm just like, but that's what makes March Madness like
Madness.
the best. The teams that you least expect making the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16 or hell, even the Final Four sometimes. That's why that whole month of March going into April, like, fans are the most excited about basketball. Like, we want to see the teams that ain't got no type of shoe deal companies making their jersey. I'm talking about wearing that Russell shit that be on the jersey. There's a reason we love those teams, man. The Loyola team from Chicago, the fucking what was it? The Monmouth team that had the crazy bench celebrations.
Didn't George Mason go to the Final Four?
George Mason. I was just about to say it. George Mason go to the Final
DCU
Four.
went deep.
ECU,
going
yeah.
to the Final
That was a
Four.
crazy year too.
That's
Yeah,
what we live to
We
see.
were in high school.
Or
Shit, my
Florida
guy
Gulf Coast.
Antonio Gates took Kent State, same conference, Kent State. They went to the Elite Eight.
Yeah. Okay, so what's our fix?
Get a new selection committee.
Okay, that's not the fix. For me, I think it's
A
a no
lottery
ducking,
pick.
a no ducking rule. I feel like every major team should be required to play at least one, true road game against a top 100 mid-major team. I think you have to do that every season.
I like that.
As long as there's no repercussions for the other team, like where there's no switching, unless it's a consistent basis. Like if they beat them one time and there's that Cinderella win, they shouldn't be like, all right, well, you shouldn't be downgraded or looked at negatively for that part unless it's consistent. If every single year you're losing to these mid-major teams and you're a top level D1 school, I don't like. That's the only way I would say
You're saying the high major
I'm
teams shouldn't
confused
get
what
no
you're saying.
repercussions for
What?
losing?
only if it's consistent, not a one and
What?
done.
Then
What are you
how would that
talking about?
fucking fix it?
Can you say that
Get
again,
better
Kyle?
talent.
I
Yeah.
kinda
What
didn't
the
What did he
hell?
say? What?
I'm just saying, so like,
said-
because it might, just skip me. I was doing
No,
too
no, no,
much.
Where's
say
my
it
sound
again.
effects? Hold on.
Somebody,
No,
somebody,
fuck it.
somebody repeat what he said because I didn't quite understand it. What did you say?
So I was just saying, like, I feel like there needs to be consistency to the losses. Like, if you consistently lose, like every year you have to, like you said, 1 year every mid major has to pay a high major team,
Okay.
right? So every year, so like if Duke loses to Kent State one time, it's not like, oh shit, Duke is now in trouble with their placement. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it needs to happen. If they lose to Kent State, then they lose to Murray State, then they lose to all these mid-major teams, then it's like, all right, we might need to reevaluate and see like why we have
No,
Duke
you
so
shouldn't.
high or something like that.
I don't know where
Well,
you're going with this.
Murph, I mean, it's supposed to be year to year. So you're like carrying history over years. And so each year, the selection committee is a new committee. It's not supposed to carry on of what you did 5 years ago or how good you were the year before. It's based on this year. That being said, I guess that's what you're saying. But that being said, I love the ideal. The issue is going to be scheduling again because what's going to happen? Duke is going to call, right? The top teams in high major are going to call the shittiest mid majors, and and guarantee the games, and then the lower level high majors are going to be stuck having to play the top mid majors, and they're going to be the ones affected the most. So,
I mean, we can
great
dive
concept, though.
further into fixing it, but I think that's
Yeah,
a
for
good
sure.
starting point.
Yeah, it's a great starting point for sure.
Yeah, I think it's probably gonna have to be like, I think when it comes to non-conference game, that there should be a threshold of like your net games, like what those wins would get you in terms of your net, whatever. Because what a lot of the Power Four teams are doing is when they know that they don't do as well in conference, that they get their teams to like to win a certain amount so they can still end above 500 because they know they're going to lose this amount of games or whatever. So when you have like these less deserving Power 5 schools, Power 4 schools that are getting into the tournament just because the weight of their conference, that's not doing a whole lot. And I also think that what another shift that's going to have to come is not downplaying these mid-major teams. I think like they're okay, they're not high major, okay, cool, but they're still good teams and there's still those Cinderella stories and everything within those. You just have to give them the platform.
Facts. So I just did a little research. So there's actually 364 Division One teams, and there's only 68 Power Four teams. I'm with you. All 68 of you have to play a mid major. Now that's not going to mean that every mid major gets a Power Four game, but that's a hell of a start.
Well said. All right, let's go and wrap it up today. For us, for everyone that's still on the live, obviously our panel here appreciates every single one of you for locking in and rocking with us. We obviously don't take that support for granted. This is a community for a reason, right? The entire community, and the reason that we're able to have these conversations three times a week and more. So obviously, like in this video, smash the button in terms of subscribe and drop a question in the chat. And for the best one, I think we'll probably take that for Monday night's opening. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in with us.